Okay, so we had played red-black midrange in Standard 22 a little bit at the start of that format. And it's definitely a mid-range are decks that get better in best of 3 by a lot, because you can adjust your deck post-board. And this archetype got a number of nice upgrades in Innistrad. So the biggest upgrade it got, honestly, was the fact that our mana got better with Haunted Ridge here. But then we also gained some really excellent, good card quality threats. Graveyard Trespasser here is kind of a quintessential mid-range threat. Like, decent stat line, interacts with the graveyard and gains you a little bit of life against aggro, and then if your opponent wants to spot remove it, it 2-for-1s them, and then it has the random day-bound, night-bound to get a little bit bigger on the backside. And then Moonveil Regent is a card that I've been really impressed with in a variety of decks. You know, mid-range decks often come down to top decking, and when your hand is empty, this card basically does an experimental Frenzy impersonation where you just like, every spell you cast draws you another card, which is quite powerful. Lolth and Valki are Planeswalker card advantage, and then we've got a smattering of different interaction here at the bottom end of our curve to help us stay alive. So let's go ahead and jump on into some games with this and see how it feels. I think there is a chance that this deck's not quite good enough against the Chariot decks in the format. We don't really have a clean answer outside of tagging it with a discard spell. This deck would really love something like K-Command or Prismari Command to kill the artifact and one of the cats, but red-black just doesn't have anything like that in this format currently. Yeah, I think Dragonkin Berserker is a little bit of an underrated card. The stat line on it's okay as a 2/2 first striker for 2, and like if they don't kill it in the mid to late game, making dragons every turn is quite powerful. Thanks for the follow, Ackle. The Grixis deck was playable if you're into that kind of thing. Ooh, those are some banger fours, chat. Oh, right, I killed a token. I was like, where did the creature go that I killed with the shock? It was a token. Alas, a token.
Feel the yearning of the world. I must resist its call.
So what if I send Trespasser into Arlen, and then if they double block, I can Infernal Grasp a token plus play Dragonkin Berserker? I think I'm into that. I could also just like Shatterskull Smashing the Arlen. I think this play has higher upside. So Arlen's +1 makes their thing come in with 1/1 counters and have flash. But if they want to Blizzard Brawl, they're going to play at sorcery speed anyways. Actually just the worst possible for us. Chariot being their last card means that, like, The fact that I killed their tokens didn't really matter. I could Shatterskull a cat. No, because they'll crew the chariot in response. I feel like vehicles should have had summoning sickness in terms of being able to crew them.
The hunt is over.
There's a like I mentioned during the deck tech, I think there's a good chance this deck does not have the tools to keep up against the chariot deck, so it doesn't surprise me that we're feeling a little buried here. Especially with how good their top deck was, right? Like, we had a discard spell and you get peeled on. It's a shame there's no creatures for this Trespasser to drain with. I have a couple of 4/4s. Well, the problem with Cyclone Summoner is that, like, you just bounce all of the things that, like, made the tokens, right? Like, these decks tend to have a lot of mana, so I'll just, like, replay everything. And this Ranger's class is level 3. There aren't any playable Shatters that I'm missing, right? Like, there's nothing that comes close to Prismari Command for this kind of deck that we're playing. Even just Shatter isn't that good. You kind of need Shatter Plus, so that way you don't get buried by the cat tokens that get left behind after. The core of the problem is the card advantage, not just the fact that it Am I only playing 25 lane? Oh no, I'm playing. Right about Shatterskull Smashing. I'm playing 26, 27 technically. 29. Yeah, I can trim one of these. Huh. Plundering Barbarian might be close. Like, no joke. Like, that. The treasure is something you might use on occasion. And, like, kill the artifact plus leave behind a 2/2. You don't full trade 1-for-1, but it gives you a very Prismari Command-esque effect, right? Thanks, Butters. If this card's good. It could be, but I could also see it just being terrible. It's definitely a lower individual power level card. Hey, nice plaid. I appreciate it. Hey, they're playing Dragonkin Berserker too, chat. So, bump my headphone cord. So I think I definitely want to kill their Dragonkin Berserker because it can scale up late game. Killing it now also means that they don't have 4 mana next turn, which is ideal. That they are, and yes, you should, Geminade. Thanks for the 3rd of a year. This does 1 extra when we target a creature or planeswalker, right? So it does 1. It does damage equal to the amount of mana you paid. Some creature eats. I guess if they have Chariot here, it's pretty bad for us. It could have been more correct to just kill the Stormseeker here. Is that how bad Chariot would have been for us? Am I interested in it becoming night? I don't think so. Alright, if you're gonna twist my arm about it. See, Chad, I'm telling you, power word kill is actually very reasonable in this format. I know you're here for my expert analysis, so I'm going to share with you all that this matchup seems much easier when they don't draw 2 Azeka's Chariots than Arlen. If you're at home taking notes, you should write that down. You're here for my fashion sense. I'm so sorry. I feel like I should start recording Christy when I like bring down Haley in different clothes that I pick out for her. Cause I just find like a shirt and a pair of pants the 2 closest together. And apparently you're supposed to try and match these things together. Wasn't that lethal with Light Up the Night? No, my opponent conceded. I had lethal. Chat, you wanted me to not make a dragon? I am confident that my line was correct because it made more dragons. Thanks for the 5 months, Grumpy. That's great, Pit Panther. I wanted the fight to drag on. It's an accurate summary there from our resident dad, Pelly, in chat. Thanks for the 23 months, Blades Queen. Sure, this is fine. I can power word kill their 2-drop to keep them off of a turn 3 4-drop. And then we can Pelakka Prediction before the 4-drop comes down. And I think we're gonna power word this one for sure. There are no bad standard deck weeks 1. I don't know. I read this thread on Twitter about how Renin 6 and Chariot were gonna ruin the game. Renin 7's the next Oko, chat. You telling me Twitter lied to me? Why would Twitter lie to me? This might be a land, this game. It is not a land, this game, chat. It is not a land. It is a spell. Very much a spell. It is a spell that is going to take a gold span dragon away from our opponent. Modal cards, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Worst neighbor NA. Cashing in that Shillionaire button, the trickle down economy at work. Making Shillionaire oh so accessible to all of y'all at home. Make sure we make Shillionaire more accessible here. Viewer rewards, channel points, manage rewards, edit Shillionaire. 999,955 shillings. And then naturally my opponent had no cards in hand, so they drew Zika's Chariot, right? Yeah, that's how Magic the Gathering fucking works, chat. That's exactly how Magic the Gathering works. A matchup seems really bad when our opponents, matchup seems really bad when our opponent draws a Zika's Chariot the turn after we discard spell them. Make a note of that. We're gonna play Valki and take in the gold span? Yeah, maybe. I don't know, there's just a lot of risk with that line. Like, they have Blizzard Brawls and other removal spells in their deck, and like, Gold Span Dragon's a pretty big threat I want to take care of permanently. Be sure to tag me on, or DM me on Discord, Worst Neighbor, so I can get you your Shillionaire title. So you can get into Beverly Shills. It's a very exclusive club. Tour Guide, thanks for the 9 months. Welcome back. It is where you want to be, Marty. Do 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 beep beep do.
I will not cry like a meek little thing.
One tippity tapped land, please. Not playing our Trespasser into Jawari Disruption. Honestly, and I know that this sounds kind of like a silly way to measure it, but the #1 sign that I know that the current format is still very reasonable in its current state is that I have heard different people complain and tell me that half a dozen different cards are too strong and should probably be banned. So when the hive mind is unable to reach a consensus on what's busted, usually that means we don't know. We need to take some time and enjoy the exploration. Still waiting for them to ban Islands. You know what's funny? If they banned Basic Island, Jeskai would still be the best deck in Historic. It just doesn't need basics. You'll never make Shillionaire. You just gotta pull on your bootstraps a little bit harder. Trust me, you can do it. Alright, so I don't really have a great play this turn anyways. So I think I just fire up the Hive with the Eye Tyrant and attack with both my 3/3s, and then that flips us to Knight. Can you buy Shillionaire? Once every 30 days, if you gift 1 or more subs or cheer 50 or more bits, you get a small boost of shillings. But you cannot just buy them outright. If you want to buy status in Hoaglandia, that's allowed. There are both Golden Whale and regular whale emotes if you cheer enough bits. Tier 3 subscribers do achieve bits a little bit faster. Excuse me, Jeff. I thought this was America. You mean I can't buy the status? We need some kind of crypto pump and dump where chat can invest points and one person comes out ahead. I mean, Twitch technically supports gambling with channel points. Money can't even buy you good healthcare. That's not true. Money will buy you decent healthcare in a lot of the United States. It's just it's a lot of money. How do we feel about lighting up the night a Skullport merchant here? I think I'm into it. I guess I could have Bloodchiefs thirsted too. Because even if they like spend treasures to save this, like the treasures turn into cards later for them, so there's value here. Oh, I guess casting 2 spells sends it back to day, which is awkward. There is a difference between I live comfortably money and I can afford to be sick in America without insurance money. Yeah. Yeah, the latter you need to have like probably like 7 to 8 digits in the bank. All right, so I have 7 lands, so I can Hive plus Bolt and play Dragonkin Berserker. Oh, this lets them Jawari Disruption it? Maybe that's wrong. It technically costs them 2 cards here, because, like, their treasures aren't getting sacrificed, but that was bad on my part. Really? We didn't? Okay. So there's like banking on drawing an answer with Skullport Merchant here to my Berserker. I guess that's fair. They're going to draw 3 cards. Well, if they brick on these 3 cards, this Berserker starts making 5/5s. Oh, they have another removal spell in hand? Unfortunate. They either missed my Den of the Bugbear or they have another Doomblade. Feels Doomblade, man. Okay. Sure. Yeah, this attack seemed real loose with my Den. I think it was fine if they had an answer, but there's a chance that they have stuff like Check for Traps in their deck, so I'm going to hold the land to bluff for now. Yeah, I think there's a good chance they missed the Den. Yes, that is exactly correct, Dini. America has top-rated healthcare if you are fairly well off. However, we average worse outcomes for normal human beings because healthcare is not accessible here. We are the country that rich people from other countries travel to get specialty things done, though. Yeah. Is another sod coming? What does their graveyard look like? They got a couple of creatures in here now, right? Yeah. So if this hits play, it's gonna drain them for 2. Sedge. And then Shambling Gas is just so good with Merchant, right? Because it's basically a 5 mana draw 2. They're killing my token, sure. That seems worse than drawing a card when you have a 1/4 in play, but you do you.
Witherbloom is just as dark and musty as I remember.
Alright, I would assume the Professor Onyx puts this away. They're not gonna miss the Den of the Bugbear a second time here, so this attack must mean they have a removal spell, right? Check for traps. Check for traps. Are we gonna pull a sneaky on them, chat? If they've got an instant speed removal spell here we get to get. Wow, this was such a greedy... these attacks have been really greedy from our opponent. Like, they're going to 2 here now? Wait, why didn't they... They probably should have cast that in response, right? To gain 2? Like, if I peel a Light Up the Night or Play with Fire, we could kill them from here? BT Dubs is something that's always a great plug. I appreciate the civil, reasonable discourse that we can have about things like topics that people often consider controversial, like politics and chat. Remember that the Discord server is not only a gaming space, but also has a lot of specialty subjects in there. We have spots where we talk about things going on with COVID and politics and food and cars and all sorts of other great stuff in there. In addition to Magic and Pokemon Unite and all sorts of gaming related things. And pets and kids. Well, yeah, Professor Onyx pings themselves every time they plus her, but she also gains them 2 every time they cast instant or sorcery. So I'm assuming that they have an instant or sorcery to cast here, right? I guess even if they don't have an instant or sorcery to cast here, they have 3 blockers for my 3 attacker, so I'm just going land go, right? Oh wait, did they not have enough snow mana? No, they did, right? They had 1, 2, 3. No, they had snow. This island just tapped to sacrifice this. I have one more Light Up the Night in my deck that we could draw. So if they don't kill us this turn, we still have a shot to survive. So we'll see. They could just kill us here with Onyx, though. She drains us for 2 every time they cast a spell.
There has to be an answer here.
This feels like we're digging for lethal. Oh, Gemini, no, you're fine. That was just me giving opportunity to shill the many virtues of the Discord server. All right, 1 out in 42 cards. Okay, so discard spells, great. Skyclave Shades and Flameskull, great. Inferno, great. We're going to pull out a lot of this interaction. We definitely want to be the beatdown in a matchup like this. And And that was pretty clean in and out, right? You can tell that the person who built this deck was thinking about how they wanted their matchups to look, and we had just enough cards that I wanted to cut against control as cards I wanted to bring in. How do you feel about Soul Shatter? Should this be in the deck? This might be better than something like Inscription of Ruin. Inscription's pretty good. You can bring back Dragonkin Berserker. Well, I guess Light Up the Night's not amazing. Dude, let's do that. This being able to kill things like Professor Onyx has some appeal. Even if Fireball is okay on occasion. Thanks for the follow, Dad Bod and Syndicon. Something of a dad bod myself, you could say. Listen, chat, I was 6 foot and 170 pounds before I had children. So they're clearly the reason this happened to me. So it just, like, has to be Blood on the Snow, because if I take the threat, Blood on the Snow gets the threat back. Well, obviously, Elgato, you can't just, like, let the food go to waste that the children don't want to finish. It's the responsible thing to do. For those of you taking notes at home, you'll note that I skillfully left the second check for traps on top of my deck. This way my opponent was unable to duress it. This is a really important skill in these discard mirror matches that you'll want to acquire if you're going to be better at Magic. Oh, check for traps exiles. Oh, it does, doesn't it? Good shout. It ended up working out there because I peeled another one, but that's a good shout. Their build's interesting. It's kind of like a blue-black variation of the black-white deck that did well at the Open. I think this is a Tibalt. This engine, along with Blood on the Snow, seems really powerful. Well, let's just kick this, right? So you can attack through the 1/4. Do you feel about learn cards now that we have full sideboards? I mean, they're obviously worse, but I think giving like 2 to 4 slots is probably fine. Smoldering Egg is super good, Narthy Poo. It was super good, Grumpy. It was the best event we've ever had, top to bottom. It was more than good. It was great. You put ketchup on mac and cheese. That's not awful. I like barbecue sauce and mac and cheese a lot of the time. Yeah. And then it's fine here. The Pelakka prediction here means that we can spot check for a counterspell before we play our powerful threat. The only way that this could assuredly fails us is if there was some kind of mechanic to let them hide counterspells in a zone other than their hand. That would just be crazy talk, though.
In exchange for loyalty.
That's true. It did technically still find the counterspell.
Trickery is just a hobby. Chaos. Let's play a little game.
Let's play a little game. I should have attacked before I played the Tibalt.
My will cannot be denied. My children will take care of you. At least there is blood on your hands. You require... We will slay our enemies.
Blood on the Snow Clearing Planeswalkers 2 is just so good. See, thanks for the follow. Good afternoon.
I, the generous one.
Yeah, I think someone earlier had asked about Flameskull, and I think once this format has the control decks a little bit more established, we'll see Flameskull see a bit more play. I think it's a pretty reasonable threat. I could be right to prioritize the Onyx over draining them here. Flameskull also has an Ace's animation.
My hatred lives.
Every time you say Onyx, I think you're talking about the Pokemon. I mean, I am. Aren't you? Yeah, the first person to play a Lolth is much better off in Lolth v. Lolth. Having your menacing folks down sooner is a big leg up.
My power is for annihilation. I will cull the weak.
I suppose Flameskull's resilient effect here is a bit worse to counter magic than something like Skyclave Shade. They can counter it when they recast it here. Yeah, and like, I'm just gonna go ahead and concede here. My opponent still has 5 cards in their hand. They've got a Memory Deluge. You got pretty thoroughly buried here. So, I'm gonna give this one more try, but it definitely feels like this deck doesn't quite have the punch it needs to be competitive. Our density of card advantage feels quite a bit lacking compared to a lot of the other options in this format. Good chance that if we want to be in black, we need to be leaning on the same type of package that they wear, where you have the Skullport Merchant and the cheap black creatures with the Learn package. Like James was playing at the Open this past weekend. Yeah, honestly, Andrew, it's a good example of like how important just, you know, one more set is, right? Get Trespasser down. Put the onus on them to start casting spells or take more damage. I mean, this format's different than Standard 22, but I also don't really know that there's any cards that were in Standard 22 that were good that also aren't playable here, if that makes sense. Yeah, as someone who's played Magic for the better part of, you know, 2 decades now, I really can't put into words for people that are newer just how atrocious things were under Eldraine. Like, that was very much the exception and not the rule. We'll kill this. We'll power word kill the chariot. We'll check for traps their hand. Huh. Alright, do we just mind rot them now? I think we just mind rot them now, right? I guess checking for Renin 7's pretty important here. If I mind rot them and they Renin 7 crew chariot next turn, that'd be real bad for me. Well, they're feeling a little salty.
Failure burns within us.
Back in my day, getting blown out was Deceiver Exarch, untapping Birthing Pod, and then turning itself into Solemn Scrum. Mood. Alright, fam. This game's starting to drag on a little bit, so we're gonna try and get it over with. Yeah, I guess Flameskull really doesn't seem very good. Maybe that's something we cut from the board for more grindy stuff that draws cards like maybe another Lolth and another Tibalt. Really a decent place to be. Eldraine worse than Cawblade. So, Cawblade, I'd like to prefix this with, I started playing Magic competitively right as Cawblade season was ending. But the thing about Cawblade is Cawblade had issues of one subset of cards being too good. Eldraine was more comparable to something like Urza Saga, like someone mentioned in chat, because Eldraine was just endless fucking cards that were too good. Right? Like, we were what, 7 bans deep into Eldraine, and the format was still just all Eldraine? Like, it really can't be overstated just how pushed and obnoxious that format was. Do I just play a 3-mana card here so I can double check for traps next turn? Probably. I feel like whatever I cast here is getting counterspelled anyways. Is Urza strong in Modern? They banned Moxopol. Finally. Asterisk finally.
The heat has become unbearable.
Goodbye, friends. Urza's Kitchen is a good deck. Is it actually putting up results? Eat us, McThrobbin. Sad. I think the flavor of Eldraine as a set was really good, and the card designs were really neat. It's just the power level was a 12 when it needed to be like a 7 or an 8. This last card is Saw coming. Her Magic basically always has good art, though. I don't think I'm trading Regent for Cadillac here. We're dead. This card's just so good. Yeah, it feels like we need Kick Command. I agree. Without an effect like that, we're just not competitive. We'll play the game 3 and see how it goes, but like our opponent basically did nothing other than play the Cadillac that game, and we just died. Maybe that means I need all the power word kills in my deck. The Burning Hands too, maybe even. Hey, Barash, thanks for the prime. Welcome to the channel this afternoon. Getting Ally of Zendikar a really good comparison. Someone compared it to that earlier in chat, and I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, we're on the play. So the problem, again, with Chariot isn't that you can't kill it. Like, obviously you can destroy it. The problem is you have to destroy it while not falling behind to the fact that, like, your opponent drew. It's like Uro, right? Like, Uro's honestly a good comparison in a way. Like, sure, you could exile Uro from the graveyard, but it, like, drew them a card and did this other thing still that you have to deal with that as well. It's a sum of the parts thing, not just like, can you take it off the battlefield? Like, obviously there's lots of ways to kill it. Like, Prismari Command is the closest thing we have to a clean answer, right? And even that, it still leaves something behind against. Command's the closest we've got. I'm gonna jam Trespasser here, because it punishes them if they don't play a spell next turn. I mean, like, Planar Cleansing is a pretty nuclear option, and even that, Planar Cleansing is expensive, so you lose tempo on it. And it requires that you build your deck in a pretty specific way. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that Chariot's necessarily a problem in the format, so I wouldn't encourage you to jump to that conclusion from what I'm talking about here. It's definitely like it's part of the litmus test of the format, right? We're like, okay, this is one of the good things going on in the format, and you need to have reasonable answer or counterplay, or what you're doing isn't going to be competitive. There's always going to be a best thing like that, right? And that's what establishing a format in a metagame looks like. It's figuring out what's that list of, oh, these are the things you need to be able to answer to be competitive. And then here's the next part of the equation too, right? Like, it's not just Chariot, it's, okay, now there's a Renin 7 and there's 2 5/5s now, right? So we do this, and we hope that there's a removal spell on top of our deck. I mean, we have a game now, right? Kinda.
Our fire must not escape.
Oh, they blocked the 2, so I can't kill this now. Thanks for the follow, Tumbud. go ahead and call it a day here. So this deck doesn't seem particularly good. I don't know that me. Yeah, I'll probably post this one to YouTube. This is probably one that's okay to just have like as a reference point. The deck's kind of interesting, and I feel like this video set did a good job of highlighting why something like this isn't quite good enough. I think if you want to be black mid-rangey in this format, the answer to how do you be black and mid-rangey in this format is surrounded by that Blood on the Snow treasure package that we've seen, right? Blood on the Snow is a type of catch-up card that lets you, you know, compete with Chariot and Ren tokens. It lets you bring things back and generate card advantage that way. And what we had going on here just didn't feel proactive enough or card advantage enough. Yeah, and honestly, so that's one of the tough parts about the format at the moment in terms of being interactive is blue cards are really good, right? And like Prismari Command is the best answer to a Resolve Chariot, but it's also in blue, right? So like at that point, you might as well just be playing counter spells too. Like sure, if you have blue-red, you could play Prismari Command, but yeah, I agree that blue is a premium color to be in. And that's why the Blue-Red Giants deck that we played Grixis Smoldering Egg before this. That felt pretty reasonable. All of the more mid-rangey / blue controlling decks have felt pretty reasonable. And I think if you're not in blue, you probably want to be doing the Blood on the Snow stuff. So someone mentioned, is there a green-black mid-range deck? Sure, you could do Blood on the Snow with any secondary color. You could also play a green-black mid-rangey deck and just be a Renin 7 Chariot deck yourself, right? Hey, Tuma Demand, thanks for the Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. At any rate, it's a little bit before I was scheduled to sign off. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I'm a little bit beat from the open yesterday and editing. I'm going to get stuff published onto the YouTube channel. I believe, unfortunately, the open coverage still isn't done processing on YouTube. Nope, it's still only in 360p. So hopefully YouTube finishes processing our monster of a 6-hour video sometime soon. Today's videos, other than this one, actually look like they're already processed, so I'm going to publish some historic Brawl, some historic, and some standard decks that we played earlier today up there. And I'll be back all day again tomorrow with some more live content here on Twitch. I'm planning to do Magic from 8 to 3 p.m.-ish again tomorrow, and then Wednesday through Friday, I'm going to be shifting back to the last couple hours as variety, but we'll still be doing Magic 8 p.m. to 1 p.m. So at any rate, I will catch all of y'all around later. And yeah, let me see, did MTG Melee fix the issue? Melee was having an issue displaying data from the open this past weekend. No, yeah. So Melee normally automatically provides these archetype breakdown here, and it's actually just blank at the moment, and like it was working at various parts yesterday, so I'm not really sure what happened. So I'm not manually farming out whatever needs to be farmed out to do this by hand, so I'm just gonna wait for them to fix their stuff before we do a weekly metagame report for standard. So sorry that has to be late. Hey, B-Crate, thanks for the brand new tier 1 sub. Welcome to the channel. I tried playing Jeskai with 3 Tough. I have not. If you're interested in what decks I have played on stream, you should check out my YouTube channel. You go to it on the front page here, and everything's very well organized. You can see all of the new standard that we've played. We're going to add some new decks to that here momentarily. Historic Commander, Pokemon Unite, all sorts of the metagame breakdowns. The Hooglandia open coverage will get added here real soon. And this one was 4.5 hours. The coverage for yesterday's event was over 6, so it was a long day. They did fix his alt bug. It was in the patch last week. So, all right, I'm signing off. Peace, folks.